That is right, ladies and gentlemen. You've seen the title, you've seen the thumbnail. Regardless of what these tests tell us today, I would recommend highly to not skip the Lady Mina guaranteed event. Now, why is that? Well, we'll talk about this real quick. There's a few particular reasons. So first of all, her guaranteed event is lasting for 17 days at the time of recording this, so 17 days, 4 hours, which means that for most players, if you're playing the game quite frequently, if you're getting good drops from the guild boss, all that sort of good stuff, you can essentially summon her with the 200 summons that are required and still have enough time to basically fill up your pool to have a go at another guaranteed hero, right? Because Moonton are almost certainly not going to run another guaranteed hero while there's an ongoing guaranteed hero. Now, another part of this, not only is she a guaranteed hero or an exclusive hero specifically, so that's something to consider as well, right? This is technically an exclusive event, so you're not going to be able to get her through regular summons apart from this guaranteed event and this rate up banner. So, 6 months down the line, if she gets buffed or if there's content where she's now incredibly relevant, you're probably going to be regretting it. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of the guaranteed or some of the exclusive heroes definitely have been a little bit questionable. So the one that comes to mind is going to be somebody like a Gwendolyn. But if you think about the other guaranteed heroes, the other exclusive heroes, when I say guaranteed, I mean exclusive. And when I say exclusive, I mean guaranteed, right? Same thing inside Watcher Realms. When you think about the other guaranteed heroes that we've had inside this game, they are pretty damn good, right? Like, the worst of the bunch is probably going to be Falcia, and she's still a very, very good fighter, right? But of course, we have other heroes like Kagiri and Sun Wukong and Diao Chan and Moradin and all those sorts of heroes, right? So Moonton essentially do not introduce heroes to the game that are absolute trash, right? In terms of the guaranteeds, at least. In terms of the exclusives, they either have some sort of content that comes out later, or they have some sort of a rework, or they have just some way that they become relevant on your account that you may not have known about before. So that's a huge consideration, right? So again, she's an exclusive. We're not going to be able to get her in the future. These summons are really not that expensive, right? So 200 summons with another full 2 weeks to build this up after is going to be absolutely huge. It is a limited time event as well. So presumably once the event ends, you won't be able to get these heroes, period, right? So it's kind of important to try and get it done. And then obviously Moonton may rework her. But all that being said, I highly recommend not to skip this summoning event, but at the end of the day, it's your account. It's, your resources, your money if you spend inside the game, right? So do whatever the hell you want. But let's go ahead and hop into the Lady Mina showcase as well as build and testing and all that sort of good stuff. So I just pulled her. She is a 0. She looks absolutely fantastic. So we're going to be going through her kit, talking about some of the ways you can build her, talking about her kit, talking about her artifact, and then giving her ratings after some testing. So first thing to consider, she's very low cost, right? Like, there's already a lot to unpack on this initial attribute screen, so she's low cost. She's a mage with a 14 cost. If we look at other mages, that is extremely rare to see, right? So we have somebody like an Ingrid who's 25, a Nora who's 19. We do have a Zaris who's 12, right? But then you have 19 for an Init. You have 10 for Biezel. So she's definitely on the lower end of the overall cost for mages at 14. So that's something to consider. Now, another huge rarity for her is she is the first mage inside the Star Piercer faction, right? Bar none, essentially. So the only other kind of exception is the one epic lord, so Lunaria, who does magic damage while still being a marksman, but she is the first and so far the only mage inside the Star Piercer faction, which is pretty cool, which means that you can run her with Eovar, Araka, as well as Lunaria and Eliza if you have them. So that's something to consider. And then she has faction membership inside the North Throne faction as well. So she's going to be able to get some shields from this faction and get powered up a little bit that way as well. So that's something to consider, right? Super interesting dual faction membership, right? We generally don't see mages being a part of that faction. Generally, mages are going to be cultists, right? We have a lot of cultist mages, and then we have a lot of our esotericist mages as well, right? Those are generally the factions where you'd expect to see mages. So she's already kind of breaking the norm. If you're struggling with the Starpiercer faction, she can help you out there, certainly, right? And we're going to be testing a lot of that stuff here today. Let's go ahead and take a look at her kit. Now, she's not fully booked, right? I have undecided if I want to invest my books in her yet. I'll make that determination at the end of today's video, so that may help you guys as well. So, basic attack can inflict blood sigil. This basically does nothing on its own. It's simply just a mark inflicted by Lady Mina on enemies, cannot be dispelled, and slow on target. So this is a 2.5 second slow, which if we look at her base attack interval, it's going to be 2 seconds. So essentially, against a single target, she's going to have 100% uptime on a 50% slow right from the get-go, which is pretty insane, right? So every 5 basic attacks can trigger enhanced basic attack, dealing 100% AoE damage to up to 5 enemies and inflicting blood, sigil, and slow on them. So she's very much kind of like just a control unit, a mediocre control unit, right? Like a very base control unit. That's why in her overall attributes you see strong CC as a part of it. Now, her basic attack is very, very basic. Deals 100% magic damage to 1 enemy. Restores 5 extra rage every 5 basic attacks launched. Now, she also does not get any damage increase from books. So you're simply just getting periodic rage regen plus 5 for every book that you put into her. This is not 5%, of course. This is just 5 rage getting restored. So if we look at her ultimate, it's 1,000 cost. So you're getting 5 out of 1,000 on her basic attack, every 5 basic attacks. Now, she has a blood resonance passive. When Lady Mina's enhanced basic attack and the Phantom Count Dracula deal damage to enemies, they inflict vulnerability physical damage on them, which is interesting because inside her kit she doesn't have any sort of a way to bring a vulnerability magic damage, and she's also a magic damage dealing unit, so it's kind of, counterintuitive there. But keep in mind her faction membership, right? So again, Starpiercers, everybody else is a marksman. What do marksmen do? Well, they do either piercing or they do physical damage. So that physical vulnerability still can come in quite useful. Now, Crimson Oath, another passive. During the ultimate, Lady Mina gains 50% of the current attack of the ally with the highest attack on the field, and the damage dealt by Phantom Count Dracula and that allied hero to enemies inflicted with blood sigil is increased by 15%, and this is, at current booked state, right? So, what does that mean? There's a lot going on here. So first of all, if I have a Sun Wukong with the highest attack in the team, she's going to get 50% of his attack, and this is current attack, so this is going to be post-deployment. This is after things like, Diao Chan and those sorts of things, right? And the damage dealt by her and that allied hero to enemies inflicted with blood sigil is increased by 15%. So essentially when her ultimate pops, she's going to be doing a little bit more damage. She gets a massive attack increase, and she causes your allied unit to do 15% more damage, right? So this could be very, very good for boss content. This could be very, very good for, Gear Raid 1 because she's bringing slow. She's bringing it essentially like an attack increase, a damage increase, right? So you can really start to stack up damage amplification with her. So you can stack somebody like her. You can stack a Diao Chan, and you can put that on like your Ingrid or something like that, and you're going to have a far easier time getting through some of this content. Now let's go ahead and take a look at her bond skills, of which she has 2. I believe this is the first hero in the game to have 2. So obtain Vlad Dracula, the Impaler. So this is the free hero, the free legendary that we get for doing the event. To unlock the following bonus effect: enhanced basic attack triggered by talent can be triggered 2 times consecutively. So if you remember, every 5 basic attacks can trigger an enhanced basic attack dealing 100% AoE, so she can trigger that twice, 200% AoE. It's really not that good, right? She's not a damage dealer, it doesn't seem. Obtain Count Dracula, the Dark Prince, to unlock the following bonus effect: the Crimson Oath is enhanced. When the ultimate is triggered, Lady Mina can also gain 20% of the current crit damage from the ally with the highest attack on the field. Honestly, not that impressive, right? For a bond skill, this is kind of like, okay, whatever. She's not really doing damage anyways. Why would we be worried about crit damage? Now, finally, when the ultimate is triggered, continuously inflict blood sigil and immobilized state. So this means immobilized, unable to move for 2 seconds on a 10-second duration, right? So she's going to be able to inflict this 5 times. So basically for the next 10 seconds, anybody in her range cannot move, right? Up to 10 targets in range at least. Lady Mina then transforms into Phantom Count Dracula, dealing 220% piercing physical damage 1 time to up to 5 targets every 2 seconds. So she's a magic damage dealer who does physical damage on her ultimate, which is super weird, right? Because you're bringing a magic damage dealer so that you can do magic damage to somebody, but then she also does physical damage on her ultimate. It's very weird. But the one area that she could be kind of useful is Abyss, right? So she can bring both types of damage, which is already a plus. She brings vulnerability, which is a plus, and she brings damage enhancement, which is obviously a big plus. So that's a super long kit for such a, basic hero, all things considered, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at her awakening. So A1, during the ultimate, Phantom Dracula's attack range increases and attack interval reduces by 30%. A2, cost -2, so that's going to get her down to a 12 cost, which is pretty good. A3, which is where she really kind of starts to get interesting. Basic attack hits 3 targets simultaneously. When a basic attack deals damage to enemies, it restores HP equal to 2% of max HP to the hero. A4, rage regen, attack +2. And A5, when enemies inflicted with blood sigil die, they provide energy to Lady Mina. Each stack of energy increases Lady Mina's attack by 4% up to a 20% increase. So lots of potential attack scaling on her kit. Now that being said, the kind of caveat here is she has absolutely booty cheeks base attack, right? So if we look at Corrosa, who has some of the lowest base attack inside the game, she only has like 15 base attack more than Corrosa. And Corrosa does no damage, right? Because her base attack is just so bad. For comparison, Ingrid, 6102, Anora, 4855, we got Zaris, 4350, and then we have Lady Mina at 2324. Now, Beelzebub can do very decent damage, right? All things considered, and he has a very low base attack as well. So that's not to say that she won't be doing damage. She actually does have more base attack than Beelzebub. So we'll certainly be testing her and seeing what we can get figured out. Now, in terms of the artifact, Tear of Twilight is obviously going to be the best way to go without any sort of question. We're going to go ahead and do some augmenting here on this one as well. Get some attack increases and whatnot there. Why not? So again, maxed out Tear of Twilight, definitely the way to go. She does have a pretty good exclusive that we're able to get as well through the Artifact Shard Collection event right now. So a Shard Assembly, where it's going to increase her attack by 20%. Upon the death of somebody inflicted with Blood Sigil, she restores her rage by 2%. It can be triggered up to 1 time every 5 seconds. So very good for, when she's popped her ultimate or something like that, right? So that's something to consider as well if you can get that exclusive. I will not be testing her with it because, obviously I don't have it, right? Go figure. Now, in terms of the gear, you have a few options that you can do here. So for right-hand side, your Soulbound Arcana, your Cataclysm, and Ageless Wrath are probably going to be the ways that you want to go. Realistically, she doesn't do a ton of damage, right? Like, she's just doing okay damage. So what I would say is don't necessarily focus on building her inside Infernal Roar. And the reason for that is Infernal Roar is generally better suited for those heroes that have very strong basic attacks, or heroes where every attack that they do is going to be a basic attack, essentially, right? So an Allura is a perfect example, where even during her ultimate, her attacks are still just basic attacks. Those are the sorts of heroes that you want to build inside Infernal Roar. So we're certainly not looking to build her inside Infernal Roar. Again, the other sets that I talked about will be the way to go. Now, left-hand side, it's kind of obvious. We're talking about a damage dealer, right? So Wicked Vengeance is going to be probably best in slot. Then you also have Calamity, Annihilating Might, Whirlwind, and Warlord as other potential sets, right? So really, just try to get some attack stats on her, speed, all that sort of good stuff, right? That's pretty much what you're looking for. In terms of the gear that I'm going to be using, it's kind of the El Clasico, so we're going to go ahead and throw my Sun Wukong gear on her and see what she is possible of doing with that. So overall stats, she's going to be rocking 24,000 HP, 11,500 attack. She has 1.2 seconds on the attack interval with a 321 speed. And then finally, 112 and 295 on the crit rate and crit damage with 61% rage regen. So she's going to be fast, she's going to be regenning rage, and she's going to have very good attack and crit damage. So we're going to go ahead and test her and see what she is capable of. We're going to do that, first of all, inside the Drake's Chasm. I kind of clarify this sometimes because I've said before people get on my back about, oh, well, why are you testing them here? This is old content. Sure. But there's always new people coming to the game who will find this content just as relevant as any other area in the game. So I want to showcase what she's capable of. Now, we're also going to bring in another mage to really just show you the damage comparison, right? So I don't necessarily want to bring in like a crazy best in slot mage like a, you know, a Praetus or an Ingrid or something like that, but I think it'd be fair to bring in perhaps like a Comet, a Boreas. Boreas could be a good way to go as well. He's kind of built, right? Like he has decent stats, very similar stats in all honesty, so I think we'll go ahead and bring in Boreas, and he's not even part of like the faction membership, right? So he's going to be significantly weaker than she is, hypothetically, right? So we have a Boreas, who I believe is baseline promo in terms of awakenings, and then we have her as kind of a comparison. So we're going to go ahead and place her down. We're then going to go ahead and place our Diao Chan, switch her to inspiration mode. We're going to place our Boreas, not there. We're going to place our Boreas here instead. Then we're going to place Airless, so everybody will have the invigoration or the Wings of Grace buff, right? So you can see everybody's set up in Wings of Grace there. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of let this go through rather, and I am actually going to go ahead and basically just pop the ultimates as they come up. Now, another important call out, as you can see here, her range is expanded. So since she is part of the Star Piercers, she can now go ahead and get an extended range due to Yovar's Lord skill. And as you can already see, she doesn't do damage, right? Simple as that. She is not doing damage whatsoever. So she's done about 700,000 damage so far. Boreas has done about 2.5 million. Now we're going to go ahead and pop the ults again. She is cycling her ult very, very quick, which is cool. But again, we're really just not seeing any sort of damage from this. Boreas doesn't even have his ult up at this point, and he is out damaging her quite easily. And she does obviously have very strong gear, right? Like this gear is certainly end game. Maybe not end game at this point, but it's very late game gear, even though it is a free-to-play account. So she is not a damage dealer, ladies and gentlemen, whatsoever. She is not a damage dealer. So that's essentially going to conclude our damage testing, right? We don't really need to see what else is going on there, but we are going to keep her in the same gear and take her into gear raid 1, because this is where I'm quite interested. So we're going to go into stage 22 and we're going to bring her. So we're going to switch out. Who should we switch out? Actually, I think maybe our Karosa, and we're going to bring in our Lady Mina instead. So we're really just going to see what's possible here. I'm probably going to place her down for, obviously, the slows. I don't know. I wish there was a bit more to her kit, because obviously if she had like if she had some sort of a way to do, like, let's say, God, I'm trying to think, like anti-heal or something like that would make her significantly more powerful, maybe even debatably too powerful, right? So that's something to consider as well. But, you know, she really just needs a way to be stronger, in my opinion. Now we're going to go ahead and place Boreas so we can get the anti-heals, and then we're just going to kind of let the waves do what they want here. Now, in terms of her placement, obviously the left-hand side might work, but we are going to go ahead and place her on the right-hand side towards the top here. And she's going to go ahead and start attacking people and hopefully slowing them as well. And then we do need to place some healers down as soon as possible, essentially. The Forsaken Totem is coming up, so we're going to go ahead and pop our Boreas. Then we're going to go ahead and pop our Artemis over here so he can heal her, as well as provide anti-heal when we pop his ultimate. We're going to go ahead and pop her ult as well, just to see what she can do here. So now she should be placing the slows as well as the marks on everybody, as well as the physical damage weakness, which again, we're not really worried about because nobody here is doing physical damage, obviously. So hopefully her slows help out a little bit. We should start to see the slows on these guys as they come by as well, right? So we'll start to see them hopefully get slowed as they come by and she starts attacking them. But, you know, keep in mind, her weakness is the fact that, you know, she has a single target attack as her basic attack. Now, we're probably going to lose some people on the top here. Yeah, we lose our Ingrid, but it is what it is. We'll just go ahead and restart. I got the heroes out in, like, the wrong order there, so, you know, don't mind that. It's more on me, not the team. We could also potentially place her in the top here as well. We're just going to go ahead and kind of speed this up because Ingrid and Boreas and Diao Chan can handle the first couple of waves without an issue. And then we're going to go ahead and place down probably our Airless next, and then we'll get Lady Mina placed at some point after that. So we're going to go ahead and place Airless now. Once the boss starts talking about doing the the healing ability, that's when we'll go ahead and pop our Boreas. So we'll go ahead and do that, get the freezes out there. Now we'll place the Lady Mina. That way she is able to start doing some slows, start doing, you know, her little bit of damage, all that sort of good stuff. We'll wait until we have enough for the Artemis, and then we'll go ahead and pop Artemis down here as well. Again, get those heals rather, the anti-heals once he's able, all that sort of good stuff. So you can see she's definitely, you know, kind of slowing the enemies, which is nice, but like she's really just not doing as much as she could be, right? So we'll see how the immobilized state goes once we pop that here in a few seconds. We'll go ahead and get our Valara placed, and then we'll go ahead and get our Nerja placed as well. We're starting to have the enemies come down from the top, so we're going to go ahead and pop our ultimate and just see that immobilized state. So you can see we are kind of putting the vampiric vines around the enemies at the top there, right? Like they can no longer move. We're doing nasty things to them. We're going to go ahead and pop. I actually forgot to pop the Boreas here as well as the Valara, so we're going to go ahead and just start slamming damage into everybody essentially. Now, obviously this team does have Power of Dominance on, so we should be able to take them out pretty easily here. The Artemis is certainly helping to keep her alive over there, and we do just get some nice slows from her, but I would be hard-pressed to make any sort of an argument to you guys that she is better than, like, Amari in this situation. Realistically, I think you could put Amari over here, and as long as she had reasonably good survival stats, I think she would do probably just as well, if I'm being honest, maybe even a little bit better, because obviously Mari is a epic, she's more accessible, people can empower her, or awaken her in this game, rather. Obviously, we'll go ahead and pop her again, so that ultimate with the immobilize is quite nice, so it just stops the enemies from, you know, attacking the wall. It's kind of like a very, very strong CC, essentially, right? As you may expect, her kit literally has the strong CC tagline in it. So it could also be good for something like GVG. We may be able to see her inside some very strong GVG teams, because, again, keep in mind, she's part of the Starpiercer faction. So being a part of that faction gives her access to the longer ranges. These days, though, at least as of the time of recording this, we don't really have Starpiercer metas going on inside GVG, so you're very much looking at like Nightmare factions kind of being the meta, as well as like some chaotic stuff, it still looks like, and then you're just kind of like, obviously your Supreme Arbiters are still very strong and all that sort of good stuff. So Starpiercers aren't really where it's at, right? Like, they still don't really have any incredibly strong tanks or anything like that, so you're really just using like an off faction tank if you're running a Starpiercers team, which can be okay, but you know, I don't run into it too much, so that's just something to consider. But I may do some more in-depth testing with her there as well. That'd be kind of cool to see. So, you know, again, we're really just trying to take these enemies out over time. So we're doing decent damage here. The wall is, you know, it's doing all right. We're going to go ahead and get the Immobilize. We're going to go ahead and get the Valara, as well as the Boreas, and then Nerja popped here. And then obviously Ingrid is still going to be doing her damage. Now, the Boreas inflicting freeze on everybody's going to help as well, because it means that's our anti-heal source, because we haven't actually popped Artemis at all yet. So we haven't really used Artemis for his anti-heal capabilities. Obviously, Ingrid with her big explosions there is super nice as well. And then obviously Nerja is helping out with some AoE damage, and then Valara is helping with some pushbacks and some radiant erosion and all that sort of good stuff. So we're going to go ahead and take down the last couple of enemies here. The one thing that is quite nice is obviously Lady Mina appears to be cycling her ultimate pretty quickly. So she's getting through this very, very fast, which is nice. It means that, you know, you can get those control effects up, which, I mean, you know, it doesn't help if she has control in her kit and you can't use it, right? We're going to go ahead and switch to single target damage here now, since the boss is the only one left, and then Ingrid should be able to kind of blast him down pretty quick. Now, we're going to go ahead and look at the damage stats after this, and I think you guys are probably going to be surprised. Not in a good way, mind you, not in a good way. So let's go ahead and take a look at the damage breakdown. We obviously 3-starred it, and keep in mind, this is... I actually set a new record there in terms of time clearing it. So she has 39 million damage done, right? The next lowest one being Boreas at 82 million. Boreas is definitely not where it used to be in terms of damage, because then you have Ingrid doing 412 million, right? You have Nerja doing 325 million. You have Valara doing 234 million. It's absolutely crazy. the damage differential between these particular heroes. But that being said, what I want to go ahead and do now is, again, we're going to take her into that Guild War setting and really just show you what she's capable of here. So we're going to go into like one of these areas. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do something like this. So we're going to bring in a Star Piercer team. So we're going to bring in Eovar. We're going to bring our Lady Mina. And then we're going to bring, let's say, some options you might see would be like a Kai. You might see a Hex. You might see a Nyx. You might see a Silas. You might see Numeras. Those sorts of things, right? So I think we'll bring a Lily, because she's obviously one of the best in slot healers for this. Like I mentioned, those Star Piercers, you just don't really have any good tanks that can do this. So you're bringing like an off-meta tank, which it is what it is, right? So we'll do that. We'll bring in, and here's the other thing too to make note of, right? So even if Lady Mina is crazy good for guild versus guild content, some of the most late game content in the game, she is, at the end of the day, a sort of okay CC hero that is taking up a spot in your team. So if I just go ahead and make a team like this, right? And then if I want to bring in Torador as my tank, right? Because he's, you know, just casually one of the best tanks in the game for this content. Lady Mina is now taking a slot that could be a Silas or a Nyx or a Hatsuit or, you know, a Yuri or any sort of another Star Piercer unit that may just be better served being in this team, right? A Sithra, for example, right? So she's taking that slot from somebody else just to do some control, which means that you're going to have significantly less damage output because you're bringing that potential control option. Now, it is nice, obviously, that she gets, at least I think she gets the bonuses from Eovar. I swear she did, but I didn't see the ultimate range increase, but we'll see, I guess. So we'll bring in the Numera here as well. This is obviously not like ideal placements or anything like that, don't get me wrong. So let's try to do this a little bit different. And I'm going to have to be going against this team, ladies and gentlemen. So keep that in mind as well. This is going to kind of suck for me, but we're going to go ahead and place our Torador here. We're going to do Numera here. We're going to do Mina, maybe something like this. Lily like this, and then Eovar back here, and then with his expanded range he will be able to reach over there, or at least he should be able to. So we'll see if Eovar can start attacking us there, essentially. So let's go ahead and let's do solo practice. And am I crazy? Let's do edit teams. Let's just throw in some random bullshit in here. It's whatever, right? We're not really too concerned about this. It's been a while since I've done this, but we'll go ahead and place, you know, place and place and place and place, right? Perfect. That team's done. Now, we should then have the option to fight this team, so there it is. So we'll do attack, 429,000 player power. I'm going to go ahead and bring in kind of just the team that I've been using recently, which is just a lot of spawnies. And then you use a lot of those spawnies, obviously, with the Grotesque Fiend, right? It's a super shocking strategy that I'm sure nobody's seen before. So we'll go ahead, we'll start this battle and see how it goes. And again, I'm not necessarily claiming that this is the best placement or anything like that. It's simply just something I want to test. So the range increases. Lady Mina does benefit from it, so she could actually be placed back one tile as well, right? So something to consider there. Eovar can reach the tile that we were needing him to reach as well. So we'll essentially just kind of see how Lady Mina can help out. We'll send in some spiders in there to really just, you know, scale up our Grotesque Fiend. But again, keep in mind that sure, Lady Mina is going to be in there helping out. She's going to be getting some immobilizations, all that sort of good stuff. But at the end of the day, she is simply just taking a slot that could be used for somebody else. Now, her physical damage vulnerability is quite nice because it's going to increase the damage that's done by your Eovar and your Numera. Numera is doing magic damage, so it's not even going to increase that damage. And again, it's just kind of an awkward faction membership too, because sure, she's part of the Star Piercers, you have Lily and everything in there too, but you just don't really have a tank that suits this faction particularly well, right? So you're generally seeing Nightmare compositions coming in, where you could have somebody like a Sun Wukong in here doing damage. You can see she did okay CC. We're slowing down the Grotesque Fiend, but he's going to get through. There's no question about it, right? It's simple as that. Now, obviously it is a Grotesque Fiend team, but I mean, at the end of the day, you know, it's a team that exists inside GVG, right? Grotesque Fiend, as much as we may not like him, or as OP as he potentially is, it exists inside GVG. People are going to be using it against you. If she doesn't help with it, she just has no play, right, on a defense. So that's something to consider. If there's folks that are more experienced with GVG and you think I said something wrong, definitely make sure to go ahead and let me know down in the comments as well. If she has some sort of niche use there or something like that. But everything I've seen online so far about her was saying, hey, we're skipping this, it's whatever. We're going to go ahead and give the ratings. Like I mentioned, I definitely would not recommend skipping her. Faction Trials, I think she's going to be a 5, right? Simply put, she's going to help you out there a lot. She's the only mage that you can use, so if there's any stages where you have magic damage being needed, there you go. And I would not be surprised if we actually see an expansion to the Star Piercers faction war soon enough, because it's been forever since they've added new stages. And I would not be surprised if we also needed magic damage for that, ladies and gentlemen. So something to consider there. Tower of Deception, probably a 3. It is what it is. Tide, she's going to be a 3 for me as well. Titanic Runes, she can bring obviously the physical damage vulnerability, but again, just bring Amari and you're doing better, right? So probably a 3 there. Void Rift, same thing, probably about a 3. Gear Dungeon 2, I'm going to give her a 4. I think she's serviceable. Immortal Codex, we're not really looking for single target or even slightly AoE slows in most areas. There's like some where you could technically use her. She doesn't really bring enough damage to be used in the other codexes, so she's going to get like a 3 there. Gold Raid, she could be a 4. You know what? Gold Raid and XP Raid, I'm actually going to give her a 5 because she does cycle pretty quick. She's going to get a 4. In Malaric's Halls, she could definitely be good for reaching some particular requirements. Gear Raid 1, I'm going to give her a 4. Arena AoE DPS, she's a 3. Gear Dungeon 1, also going to be a 3 in my opinion. Anti-air DPS, she's going to be a 1. Gear Raid 3, she's going to be a 1. She's not doing anything to help there. Guild Wars, probably about a 3. Artifact Material Raid, you could obviously use her in the stage where you need the platform units to slow them down, so I'm going to give her like a 4. Drake's Chasm, I'm going to give her a 2. I don't think she's really going to help you push there. Same thing with Gear Raid 2. And then obviously single target Arena is pretty crappy for her as well. So definitely want to see a buff to her. Don't get me wrong. I don't think she's a great hero. I don't regret going for her. She's, you know, she's super cool looking, right? Like super, super cool. Very, very cool aesthetic. I'm not going to be using books on her, though. I'm not going to be using my skill crystals, right? Because I only have 13 of them. They're quite a hot commodity inside this game, as with any gacha game, I suppose. So I'm not going to be using that. Let me know down below if you guys pulled for her, though. And thank you so much for watching to the end. I'll see you next time.